What's up, everybody? It's Glenn and Big Jack back with another Bears video. This is the bye week video, week 13, after the Bears come off of a Monday night win against the Minnesota Vikings, first divisional win under Matt Eberflus's reign as head coach and Ryan Poles' reign as general manager. They do get a 12 to 10 win against the Minnesota Vikings. Quick shout out to myself. If you guys watched last week's video, I was in charge of the keys for a Bears victory, and they were offensive line play, which the offensive line played pretty well. It was forced turnovers, which we had four takeaways, and it was to finish, which while the offense didn't look great, they finished in a critical situation. So maybe I know a thing or two about a thing or two. So shout out myself. But that being said, I know going into this video that Jack and I have some differing viewpoints on how things went last week. Maybe we start with Jack's point of view instead of the Bears and his opinion of last week's victory against Minnesota at Minnesota. Jack, it's great to have you back. What are some of your initial thoughts on last week's game?
Yeah, great to get a win first and foremost. Haven't had a lot of them over the past couple of years, so any way you can get it, we'll take it. Despite how brutally ugly that game was, there's not a lot of games in the NFL where you're going to win where you don't score a single touchdown. But four field goals was enough to get it done. Can't believe Santos finally missed one. What a bum that guy
He
is, huh?
bounced back.
Yeah, no doubt. But yeah, it was you like you said, your keys were great. People are kind of killing Getsy for his game plan and sort of like probably rightfully so. It was a little ridiculous how predictable it all was after a certain point, especially. There was like points where they had receivers, flanked outside for the blocking schemes, and it was like the corners just knew. They weren't even attempting, they weren't even looking at the guys on the outside. They just knew they're cutting in the second, the ball came off the line and they were going right at the guy coming off the bubble. So I don't know. If you want to be a screen guy, that's fine. A lot of people have success with them, but you gotta keep the defense on their toes. Um, but anyway, that was bizarre, bad play calling. But to get to the point of you needed to get the ball out against that defense, kind of like I said when you brought up your key of the offensive line, like Brian Flores is going to blitz like crazy, and that's what he did for the most part. So it was nice to see Justin get it out a lot, and he was getting a ton of pressure. He really was. There wasn't too many times where I thought like old Justin Fields, like, dude, what are you doing? Just holding on to the ball. I think he's getting a little bit better in certain areas with that whole ordeal of getting it out in a decent fashion. Um, Down the stretch, tough to watch. The two fumbles, um, he just can't do it, man. I think he's played 35 games now. He's got 40 turnovers. He's fumbled the ball 35 times in 35 games. And then it's just the killer of 17 turnovers are in the fourth quarter. It's just really bad. It can't happen. The only one who's anywhere near that is Trevor Lawrence. A lot of people think very highly of Trevor Lawrence. Slight difference in the fact that Trevor Lawrence has played a decent amount more games than Fields, but you just got to take care of the ball. It was not good. But with that being said, one of the things that we've talked about a number of times in regards to the Bears and Fields in general is that he just never gets it going in the fourth quarter. When they do get a stop, they do have that chance to go win the game. It looked like it was going to be that same old thing. They get the ball back. He has another fumble. And then, fortunately for the Bears, or maybe give a little more credit to their defense than I sort of am in my head, I feel like Kevin O'Connell really turtled up with his play calling. Dobbs had a horrible game, so maybe that plays quite a factor. Um, But they just, I don't know what the Vikings were doing. They got super conservative. They gave the ball right back, and Fields had his chance, and he went and took it. You know, touching on Flores again, I don't know. It was like a comedy of errors by the Vikings coaching staff with how conservative O'Connell got and then how conservative Flores got. They were blitzing 80% of the plays all game, and then all of a sudden they weren't bringing any pressure. Whatever. We capitalized, we took advantage of it. Like you said, your last key, they finished the game. It's the first time they've done that. I think it's technically his second fourth quarter comeback win, but I don't even remember what the other one was, to be honest. But I mean, that last drive was good. I mean, he made some nice plays. He didn't take any sacks, no negative plays. And then I feel like he learned from that play the week prior against the Lions, where I said he made perfect throw to Tyler Scott, but maybe you just got to know in those situations you should go to this guy because he's the guy. And I think they ran a very similar play, and instead of taking the shot, he just waited for DJ Moore to come across and hit him right there. Love seeing DJ Moore just being a high IQ guy, knowing the situation, literally catching the ball, start backing up, bear hugging that thing. He knew he didn't really have to get many more yards, just secure the rock. And then, they took a knee and Santos did his thing. And, it was a great divisional win, first one under the regime. So, as ugly as it was, you got to give. I have my criticisms, obviously, as I laid out, but I'll give them credit for making the drive to go get the win. I'm encouraged by that, and once you get a taste of it, hopefully it's something you can keep replicating going forward.
Okay, we don't have that much disagreement in our views. Um, when it comes to Getsy's scheme and game plan for the game, probably along with Eberflus with that offensive scheme to a certain degree, I do think it was a good scheme. But like you said, you can't throw 26 screens or whatever it ended up being. Like throw 12, throw 13. You
Was it
know,
26?
I think it was 26 throws at or behind the line of
That's so
scrimmage,
crazy.
which is crazy. But so like I do think they had the right idea, but like I don't know if Gatsby was like trolling the fans or what, but like at a certain point, like you have to mix it up a little bit. I would have liked to seen a little bit more running offensively. I just felt like it was decently successful, and they kind of got away from it. Obviously, these quick passes are kind of an extension of the run game, but just
I know.
changing it up
I
a
know.
little bit.
I know Foreman was out, but seems like Roshan's sort of RB1 now.
I think they don't really like Herbert that much for whatever reason. Um, I don't know if it's his inability to pass block. That's my best guess. They like a more well-rounded back, which other than the time Roshan got juked out by Ivan Pace, he's been pretty stout in pass blocking. So maybe that's why they like him a little bit more. He does have a little bit of juice to him, although I don't know if he's ever made a defender miss in his life. He just kind of runs straight at him. Um, that being said, our views on the game aren't that much different. You can't have those fumbles. The one was a little bit unfortunate in my mind. He was running for a first down. Defender hit him with the helmet. Unfortunate or not, they just can't happen. Um, but I love that he stepped up after the couple fumbles, got him back into field goal position. It's great. He didn't have to go get a touchdown, and he just had to get him to field goal range. That's beautiful. Great throw to DJ Moore, and you watch him throw a pass like that, and you wonder why we don't have more of those over the middle of the field. Um, a couple guys I want to give shouts out to. Montez Sweat, first of all, he's making this defensive line something it hasn't been under Eberflus, and in return, the defense as a whole. He's freeing up some of the other guys on the defensive line to play better. Jervon Dexter is looking like he might be a hit of a draft pick. I'm not saying he's Jalen Carter, but he is looking like a force on the interior defensive line. Terrell
That
Smith,
penalty was that penalty was terrible.
that penalty
Sorry
was
to cut off
terrible.
your train of
No, you're
thought.
good.
That
I
penalty
know
was
exactly which one you're
horrible. He had a
talking
he
about.
had he had a he had a great game.
I thought so too. Um, Terrell Smith, the fourth or fifth round defensive back from Minnesota, he looks like he might be better than Tyreek Stevenson already. Our second,
Yeah, 5th round for sure.
yeah, our third round pick Stevenson. Um, you know, it's tough to tell going up against Josh Dobbs, but you put together their performances the last 6 weeks since Allen Williams been gone. Obviously, the collapse at Denver, the collapse at Detroit, um, going up against a couple bad quarterbacks. When they played the Raiders, they went up against Hoyer and O'Connell. Last week, going up against Dobbs. Like, I know it's not ideal. It's not like they're going up against the top quarterbacks and putting out performances, but it takes time. It takes steps to progress. And I do think the defense is getting closer to an average defense compared to last year where they were terrible. And our young players are getting better. So while I have problems with our coaching staff in game, I do think that there might be some things going on a daily basis that are good overall, if that makes any sense. I do think guys are progressing, and I do think the locker room is still in on this team. I don't think it's lost. Um, so overall, state of the Bears. I know people are going to think I'm crazy, but I'm not super upset with where they're at. Um, do I think this coaching staff can bring you to a Super Bowl? I don't, but I do think they're making improvements. Um, you know, personally speaking, and I'm kind of getting in a big picture. If you can't bring in a Jim Harbaugh, or you mentioned in the picks video that Vrabel's apparently considering being on the outs there, bring in a guy like that, somebody that's proven that they can have some success as a head coach in the NFL. I'm almost more in favor of staying with our current staff than like a coordinator that's going to be a first time head coach coming in. And that's just where I'm personally at. Give him one more year, see what ends up happening, because I personally do see improvements across the team as a whole. Um, and then the quarterback's a whole nother, conversation. Um, what do people see long term for that? Are we going to go draft pick, whatever? I personally think if you go one or two, you got a real conversation on your hands if you get the first or second draft pick. Anything other than that, I think you stick with Justin Fields for sure. But any comments on what I'm saying, Jack? Going on a little bit of a tangent.
Yeah, no, you're totally fine. I think just in regard to, um, I echo some of what you said about the defense. I didn't really talk about them at all. About the in regard to the Vikings game, they've just have been good in general lately. I think I misspoke like a couple weeks ago when I said they were number one. I think they were number three in run defense at that time, and now I think they actually are number one. I want to say they're like top 10 overall. They might be like number 9 overall.
It's pretty
Um,
good.
but yeah, they've definitely improved drastically compared to how historically awful they were last year. Sweat seems to be making a difference. But I think where I do differ with you is regardless of the improvement, which I agree is there. I don't see a world in which you can come back with this coaching staff next year, from my perspective. I think it's too difficult not to account for some of these catastrophic losses. Lions, catastrophic loss, Broncos, catastrophic loss. Um, and I guess I just don't. I agree with your points about like, they seem to play hard for the guy. The locker room doesn't seem lost in all these, dark times of the fact that, they haven't really been winning games for the better part of 2 years now, and they're still kind of going out there and fighting week in and week out. Um, which is true, and I don't disagree at all. I guess from my perspective, it's more so like, who cares? That's your job. Like, that's the
Sure,
bare minimum.
sure.
Like
That's valid.
I don't know, like I don't. It's just like I don't have kids right now, so I guess maybe I'll feel differently if I'm ever for if I ever do have them. But like I feel like it's a situation where like, you know, your kid graduates 8th grade or graduates high school, you're like, well, yeah, no shit, buddy. Like, are you supposed to be like that happy? I don't know. Like, I don't know.
No, I mean
Um,
you're
I,
right. The effort is the bare minimum. That's you shouldn't even have to talk about it. I agree. I agree.
Yeah. So that part's like I said, I do agree. And like we lived through the Tressman times. We've seen it happen with kind of what was going on this year with the Raiders is probably a pretty good example where like McDaniels didn't do that. Like he totally lost the locker room. So it is like a thing. I just don't know if I can weigh it that heavily for like a pros and cons. Like I
Sure.
don't think it's that big of a positive in my view. Um, and I just like you said is a point that I couldn't jump on the back of any more is just in the sense of throwing the ball over the middle. Luke Getzey I don't know why he doesn't do it. I know he really only ever worked with Aaron Rodgers before he came to Chicago, and I mean, I get it. Rodgers is the most talented quarterback of all time. So maybe he's just so good that like he can just spray it outside the numbers, and that's like his thing, and that's why he never really turns the ball over and blah 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 blah. But like, dude, throw the ball over the middle of the field. What are you doing? Um, I don't know. Getsy he's very frustrating to me. I think Fields it told you as much when he made his comment about coaching being part of his issue of why he's not able to, get it going earlier in the season. Um, I don't know. I just I don't like the coaching staff. I credit where credit is due to Eberflus and what the defense has been doing. I just think it's a situation where he is a hell of a defensive coordinator, and that's just what he probably should be. I don't think he should be a head coach. I think next year, like you would have to bring in it if you keep Eberflus, you have to bring in a defense coordinator. You don't have one right now.
You have
So
to.
then what does that look like? Does Eberflus all of a sudden go back to not calling the defense? And then as the defense take a step back, and then it's like this in-house like dilemma of like, oh, should I take over the play calling again? I don't know. I just think it's a problem that you can avoid by bringing in a new staff.
Sure.
I don't know. We'll see. As far as Fields goes, I get animated about it at times, but he's got 5 more games for sure, and I hope that he kind of goes crazy because I do think the best path forward is hopefully Carolina continues to shit the bed and you land in that number one spot and you're able to trade back for a haul. I don't want to trade too far back because the more and more, I'm not a big college football watch guy. I don't really care for college sports generally. But the more I, have watched a little bit and kind of read into some of the things these people are saying about Marvin Harrison Jr., I would love to get him if you could that high up. I also would like to, if you can't stay that high, depending on the trade back options, I don't know if I'd want to go any further than like 5 or 6, where you could still get yourself like a Joe Alt.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Sure.
I think you
Sure.
got to still stay up there, but I do think Fields being the guy, if he can prove to be it, is still the best path forward for the Bears. Like, yeah, I guess if you get a generational guy, that changes everything. The biggest. I'm not shy. I think quarterback is. I won't say the only thing that matters, but it matters a hell of a lot more than anything else. And if he's not going to be able to do it, then you got to move on. And I know it's hard to have back-to-back potential number one overall picks and not take a quarterback. So I understand
Yeah.
if they were to move on, but I still think there's plenty of holes, and this team is building and getting close to where they're maybe like a really good draft, like a decent free agency period and then like another good draft away from being legitimate contenders if Fields is able to take those steps. So I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at as far as like the current state and the future. I know it sort of contradicts in a sense to be like, oh, so you're going to give Fields another coaching staff, another offense. I just don't know how much that stuff matters. I like CJ Stroud's a rookie with the first time play caller. His first year he's doing a new offense. It looks pretty damn good to me. I just think if you pair the right guy with Fields, and he knows what he's doing. I don't know. I don't know how much it matters if it's a new offense.
for sure. All right. With that being said, 5 games left. Where are your eyes going after this bye week? I'm guessing more than anything, it's at quarterback one. It's at Justin Fields. Um, any other points of the team that you're really looking at, considering that we're out of playoff contention? Um, but I also feel like this team's not out of. They're not in tank mode. I think they'll be playing because they know they got that Carolina pick, so they're gonna be playing. They're gonna be trying to win. The coaching staff might be fighting for their lives. Where are you looking at these last 5 games?
Yeah, like you said, the obvious one is Fields. 5 more games for sure to determine whether or not you want to pick up that option. Um, and I don't know. I think he knows he's not like he hasn't played like amazing enough where I don't think he's going to be like demanding, like he's going to be holding out for a contract. So yeah, it's expensive, but fifth year option is not the end of the world. 25 million for that fifth year, and you're locked in for 2 more years. I don't know. We'll see what happens the next 5 games with him. That's first and foremost. That's a very obvious one. The other thing it's kind of like, man, if you don't blow those 2 games, you're right in the thick of the playoff
6 and
hunt. Could be
6.
real exciting
Yeah,
coming out of the bye. Um, I don't know. I'm interested to see how this defense kind of keeps building with the continuity of bringing in Sweat, like you mentioned with Pickens specifically. It seems like he's already certainly having um, quite an impact in games. Just as individual, he's a great player. He
I
seems
think
to
you're
be a
thinking about
great.
Dexter, but yeah,
Oh yeah, excuse me.
Dexter. Yeah, no worries, no worries.
But either way, the point being just that, like, yes, he's great individually, but he seems to be having a positive impact on the
Sure.
line, which is like, even more so what you're looking for going forward. Um, so yeah, I want to see that. Jalen Johnson gets an interception, but drops another pick six. Part of me sort of thinks maybe you just pay him. You got a lot of money. I wouldn't want to go crazy, but if you can get him in that like 15 to 18 range, I'd be cool with it. And just seeing some of the younger guys, hopefully Stevenson can get back on the field. I think Eddie Jackson's for sure out of the picture. Whatever, that's fine. But continued development from the younger guys, continued continuity on that line. I think for sure we're looking at a new center next year.
Yep.
Um, other than that, there's not a ton I'm necessarily looking for. Like I'm pretty dead set on like I won't be thrilled if this coaching staff is here. So I don't really I guess I don't know. I kind of am committed to that in my head, regardless of the results these next 5 games. Um, but yeah, just continue positive. I still want to get wins. I don't care for being the sixth or seventh overall pick versus being the 11th or 12th. I don't know. Maybe I'm an idiot,
Sure.
but it just doesn't make that much of a difference in my mind
I
because you
agree.
have the Carolina pick already. And I think winning games is more valuable, especially if you're going to kind of go forward with Justin Fields as your guy.
Yeah, I mean, we got 5 games left. 2 of them are divisional games. We got the Lions one more time and the Packers one more time. Those games matter to me because if you come out of this season, let's say 7-9 or 6-10, or I'm sorry, be 7-10, we'll say, and you go 3-3 in division, and you can convince me that tides are shifting. Man, it's gonna be tough for me to say we should be moving on from this staff, especially considering where we were a year and a half ago. Um, uh, that being said, obviously Fields is the number one viewpoint. The next 5 weeks, I mean, as he's been since he's been here, um, yeah, I look to see this defense taking more strides, um, but a lot of the eyes are going to go to Justin Fields, no doubt about it.
Yeah. And I mean, I think to your point about the staff, like, who knows what Kevin Warren's thinking in the big chair, if he's
Yeah,
even like, if getting rid of polls is even on the table from his perspective of like really just rehauling the whole thing and doing it himself. But I think it's kind of like, my I'm setting my opinion, but like if you're Eberflus and you walk into that office at the end of the year and you say, "Hey, we went 3-14, and then we finished out, say they get to 7 wins this year." I don't know. My defense went from last to top 10. Like, I don't know. You probably have a decent, unfortunately for me, because I don't want him back, but he probably has like a decent negotiating,
yeah.
when he sits down at that table to be like, this is what I've done. Give me a little more time and we'll keep it moving.
Yeah, and that's where my head's at right now too. Obviously, this could all change if they go out and go 0-5 down the stretch. I might be more in your camp where it's like it's these guys got to go. They're just not it. But this team's just got some fight and they got some life left. So we'll see what ends up happening these next 5 weeks. All you fans out there, enjoy the bye week. It is kind of nice when you have a Sunday where you can just sit back, watch games leisurely, not get too into anything too intensely. Um, it's been nice with like a couple of their Thursday nights and Monday night games. I kind of like sitting back and just watching the Sunday games, pretty low key. So enjoy your Sunday this weekend. We'll be back next week with a preview before the Week 14 game. Um, and yeah, let's see how they finish out this season. But we'll be steady bringing you videos. If you're new here, hop over to our other video this week. It's our best bets of the NFL weekend video. This year, me and Jack have been uh, pretty strong records wise, and we're going to try to build on it this week. Like and subscribe if you're new. Jack, hit them with it one time.
Mm, Bears.